All right.
Hi everyone, welcome to Front Porch Chit Chat. We have our special guest here, Dee Swartz. And how are you today?
I'm really good. Yeah.
Good, good. When you were younger, you love llamas. I think that's not a very common thing for people, so I think that'll be a cool thing to talk about.
Okay.
Where did it all begin?
Well, it kind of all began, I am an animal lover and trainer, and when I was younger in my 50s, I discovered llamas, and so they had some in the neighborhood, and I loved them, thought about them, looked them up in the Smithsonian magazine out of Washington because there wasn't any information, found out what they were about and where you could, what they did and where you could go. So I went to Oregon, Sisters, Oregon, where they were bringing them in and learned all about them and decided that I would really like to raise them. And I had this idea that it might really be fun to pack them because I learned that they packed and do women's therapy groups, backpack therapy groups up in the mountains. So that's the big story. It took a while to get from A to B. Along the way, I got 3 for starters, a couple of male packers. And then I went back and got a female because I also realized that the people that were in the area in Oregon had kind of fancy ranches and nice fencing and pretty cars, and I said, what's going on here? And they'd say, well, it's the llamas. And so they were an upcoming, I forgot the terminology for it, but a breed that was going to be very popular.
Okay.
And so they were raising in value, and that was kind of the beginning of it. But most of the people that raised the llamas raised them out of love. They were usually couples, mamas and dads, except the original, and just had fun with them. And so I went back and went to one of the smaller farms and stayed with her and learned all about them and why they spit and all that type of thing, and when they spit, and what do you do with babies, etc.
Sure.
And then brought them back to Idaho, and I had one female, and she was also pregnant, a pregnant female, and then 2 boys to practice packing and learning all that part about it.
Yeah.
And so one thing led to another, and I was invited to take the packers of the llamas up with a gentleman who ran what he called Sun Valley Trekking, and he was a trekker all over Alaska and the Northwest and did kayaking. So he was he formed the company. He got the people.
Okay.
And his girlfriend made the gourmet meals. So we were fashioned as to be, like those fancy riverboat trips and things.
So you provided the llamas.
I provided the llamas.
Yeah.
And out of that, there are several really wild stories that went on with that. But
what was your favorite story doing this whole llama experience?
Okay, a favorite one, and you can have me back for another chapter. I'll skip over the packing experiences, which went fine, but they were rather short-lived because I was more interested in my mamas having their babies and wanting to be there when the babies were born. That became a much more important factor for me. And my favorite story about the birth of the babies is that llamas, the females, have a way about 2 days or so before they're going to give birth. They'll start humming, so you know it's time to pay attention to them and go out in the field and how are you doing, and then if you're lucky, you can bring them in. Sometimes I just stayed with them in the field because I don't know their timing very well, and they couldn't tell me any more than that. So anyway, this one lady I had been, this is several years later, so I knew her better. So I knew about when to bring her in, and I brought her into an enclosure about the size of, a little bigger than what we're sitting in here. And she'd been humming for quite a while. And so she was in, and she was there working on what she was working on to have the baby. And I was there mainly because I it's silly, but I like to try to catch them, because when they come out, they're very, very long. They're all one about that long, but they're way off the ground, and so they would, you know, it's natural, but they would fall out on their heads, and so it's kind of nice to make the journey down softly, at least I thought so.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed the process. Anyway, I looked up, and all the llamas were fenced around the edge of the fence, leaning over, and they were all humming.
Oh.
And they hummed during the whole rest of the birth, which then went ahead, and we got the baby out.
Wow.
And then it was there to do all the floppy things they do to stand up, because out on the prairie, they have to be up and going by quite 10 hours or so, because they're going to be on the move. And the boys and the girls all left, and there we were. And it was so special. We did take pictures of it. A friend came down, because I called him on the phone. I said, "You got to see this."
That's so cool.
Mm-hmm.
And do they hum for a long time, like a long, like or just little? Okay, just
like that.
Okay.
And I don't know if they're singing. It sounds like humming.
Yeah, but that's the sign. And how many do they typically have, or do?
One.
Just
Although
one.
there can be two.
Right.
I had never had two, but I knew some people who had. It's rare. And both survived.
Wow. That is so awesome.
Yeah, they're pretty interesting, and just them, the baby's trying to get up on the ground, because their legs are about as long as their bodies, and trying to get these joints up in them, and then finding out how to eat in a short period of time is really quite delightful and comical to watch. It's precious.
Wow.
So that's just one of my lovely stories. I enjoyed them a lot.
Yeah, thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
Because you're just like one of the only few I know that actually own llamas, but I know that people talk about it all the time, and a lot of people share their interests and love for llamas because they're so cute, but no one I know personally actually, own or used to own a llama. So that's why I thought that was I love that you're sharing that, because I think a lot of people would find that very interesting and intriguing as well.
It's one of my favorite topics, so you got the right one.
Good. And was there anything else when you were younger? Was that like your main career, or did you have any other careers?
That was about my third or fourth.
Okay.
No, that I did that in conjunction. It was kind of my hippie days. I lived in a log cabin up in the mountains, and I was also a therapist. So I did therapy sessions in that house. I was a cabin, and then there was a house with the ranch around it. And the people loved to come and look at the llamas before they visited.
Yeah.
They're very intriguing, in-depth, intriguing animals, and it's very nice to get to know them and to understand their behaviors.
Yeah.
So that was one. Yeah.
It helped. So it helped with your therapy sessions as well with your clients.
Well, I think so.
Thank you so much for your time and sharing your story with us. I'm excited to share this with our friends here at Wesley Palms, and maybe that will inspire them to have a llama too. That certainly inspired me to have a llama. Now I'm probably gonna ask you, like, where do I begin, and how do I start, and how do I get a llama pet and maybe turn this into a business too?
Well, there's lots of books out now, and you would call whatever the association, if you just looked up llamas, there'd come up a way to learn about the business, how they're doing, and where you buy them, and I had people come all the way from Alaska.
Wow.
One lady herself, alone, in her own truck, and came down to shopping. Well, she knew I'd done the marketing, but she came down and bought 2 llamas and took them back.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you got to really want to do that.
Yeah, that's true. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for tuning in.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dee.